Hello ladies and gentlemen, today is June 25th, 2013, and welcome back to Microsoft Excel. So, today, I'd like to show everyone how to make a simple graph using Microsoft Excel. So please keep in mind of two things. One, I'm using Microsoft Excel 2010, so I'm not familiar with any other version, so please keep that in mind. And two, if there are any other shortcuts that I may not be using, please let me know, but my apologies, I don't know how to use them, my bad. There are many different ways to get to the same answer. So here's just some dummy data that I just made up. There's no real scientific prowess to this, I just made this up. Now keep in mind that whenever you try to do a graph using two sets here, keep in mind that whatever you designate as the left column here, in this case A, this is going to represent the x-axis, and then for here, for B, it's going to represent the y-axis. All you have to do, simply put, is click and drag and highlight the data. You don't have to highlight the titles. The reason I put titles whenever I record data or whenever I type data out is simply just so I don't get confused as to which is which. Now, if you, up here, along these tabs, go to the Insert tab, and then click on the Scatter Chart. And now there are many options here. Usually, this is the most popular type, I believe. The type that I always prefer is this type right here, the scatter. Oh, come on, has to highlight first. Yeah, there you go. Scatter with only markers. Generally, most science graphs don't really like if you use connect the dots method with these. We prefer, at least for me personally, and again, I teach chemistry. I prefer the lines to not be connected, just because it'll show a linear regression line if that is necessary. But other than that, though, I really don't like them being connected. Now, this line, the horizontal axis lines, you can change these if you want, but for the most part, to me, not really not that worthwhile. So I just right-click and I delete those. But that's not a necessary feature. You don't have to do that. However, the legend, for the most part, has to go because that really doesn't tell you much to begin with, anyway. So here I have. Oops, didn't mean to do that. So if you click on the inside of the graph, you can see you can move it around like so. But you can hit this, and if you mess up, you can always click this back button here that undoes whatever your past move. And now we're back to the center where I want it to be. So now I need to. This is completely unacceptable because this tells me absolutely nothing. I need to actually identify what's going on here by labeling the axes with their appropriate units, and also give this chart a title. So the way you do that is you click on the box itself. You notice this new Chart Tools tab opens, and you have all these different cute little things you can do. The important thing to worry about right now is how to put essentially titles on it. I know a lot of people have a hard time with that, and we'll talk about this in a minute. But this is kind of the shortcut way to do it. But here's the long method of doing this. You go to Layout, you click on Chart Title. I always prefer putting the chart title above the chart, and then you can highlight this and then give it a title. Velocity, I think it's Velocity Analysis of Doom, like so. You don't want to write that, that's probably unprofessional, so hopefully, usually your title will be in reference to either something what you're analyzing, or something involving which experiment you're doing. Then, go to the axis titles in the Layout tab. Go to primary horizontal axis title and click Title Below Axis. And lo and behold, a title or a little text box appears so you can put your axis title. Now again, and this is kind of why I like having them labeled, just so I remember what it is without having to look back in my notebook or my manual or whatever you're using to record your data in. And I know that this is the time and it's in seconds. So you want to make sure to always include the unit. That's very, very important. Otherwise, we're not quite sure how you're measuring it. Repeat the process for the vertical axis title. Now, I prefer doing the rotated title just so it looks neater, and I think most professors and teachers who ask for graphs would appreciate that as well. So again, remember when you're done, you can't click Enter because then that actually goes into like another space. So you want to make sure that when you're done, you essentially just click off of the chart title or the axis title, and there you go. Then if you need to, you can just go over the text box, double click it to where it's all highlighted, and then adjust the font appropriately. Now obviously you're not going to turn in something this small, I hope, unless you're going to embed a graph into your report or whatever you're turning in. But for the most part, most people assume to be usually a full graph. And then, of course, you can click and drag and move these around as needed. And so this is pretty much it. Depending upon what you're doing, you may not need a linear regression line. And actually, this is what I'm going to talk about now. So I'll probably put an annotation or something in the description about if you need to skip this, how to skip it, or not how to skip it, but I'll move on to the next portion of what I wanted to talk about. But now, how to put in a linear regression line? Well, the easiest thing to do is to click on any one of these data points. Does not matter which one. You click on them, you notice all, in this case, all 6 are highlighted. You right-click on that data point, and you have several options here. Now, if you need to add data labels, because I also know that some professors and teachers will ask for those. That's how you do it. Right-click, and then you just click. Oops, didn't mean to do that. And then I'll just get rid of these. And then you can just undo it if you didn't mean to add the data labels, because as you can see, you can format the data labels and do all that jazz, but I don't really care about that. I don't usually ask for that. Most chemistry folks don't ask for that, at least the people that I've talked to. All right. Anyway, you right click on this data, and then you go to add trend line right here, and then you can see that a trend line has already appeared. It's the linear trend line by default. However, all these other options are available to you, but linear, of course, is the most popular type of regression. And you always want to make sure. Now, of course, I should say this is depending upon what your specific teacher or professor asks for. Personally, I've always found it to be preferential that you actually show the equation and show the correlation coefficient, the R-squared value, just to show how accurate and how not accurate, but how linear your data is. And then, of course, you should know by now what that equation means, and you would apply it thusly to whatever thing you're analyzing. Okay, so that's pretty much it involving this, like about how to make a graph. And so that's the kind of the nuts and bolts. So before I move on, though, there actually is kind of a shorthand way to do this. Now, I wanted to show the long way first, just because some people may not like the templates they're about to see, or they may have extra stuff that's not needed, or I don't know any other versions of Microsoft Excel. I don't know if other versions of Excel don't have what I'm about to show you. But again, if you make a graph, we'll just do the same thing, scatter plot, and have what I have here. And if you go to, in the design, you notice we have all these cute little pictures. Well, here's the thing. If you want to copy pretty much exactly what I did here in all of those steps, if you, up here, see how you have the first 6, you click this arrow and go to this next 5. Click this middle one here, layout 9, I guess is what it's called on my computer. Click that, everything's done for you. You see, here's my regression line. Here's my data table. I just have to make the charts. The only thing I would not include is the legend, because I don't give a hoot about that. And then and again, for me personally, I don't like all these data lines, so we'll delete all of them. But if that's your thing, then keep them. If not, then whatever. But also there are other versions here, as you can see. I'm not going to scroll through all of them, but this is the basic one, the one that you get as a default. Then you have this version, something like this. Like I said, many versions, as you can see here. Doesn't really matter which one you choose, just so whatever is preferential for you. And see, look, you can use the box grid lines, whatever the case may be. But yeah, so that's that. Oops, didn't mean to do that again. So again, if you want to move your box, then what you have to do is grab outside of this text area. Otherwise, you'll do what I did. So usually I like to grab the outside corner and then move it out here like so. All right. So this is pretty much it. This is good to go. This needs to get printed out. Now, what a lot of students incorrectly do is they'll go to File, then they go to Print, and then they try to print it out, and they get this madness where the graph is spread out over multiple pages. It's really small, and like the data table is included. Now, to my knowledge, most professors and teachers don't really want both the graph and the data tables on one page. Usually, at least from my experience only, again, for you personally, it might be something different, that this data table, if you need to show this, will get shown as a table that you draw in Microsoft Word or something of that nature, and if in whatever report you're supposed to show. Most of the time, most teachers and professors will ask for this graph as a full page. So the way to do that, the easiest way to do that, is instead of trying to take this and stretch this out over the entire width of the page, is to, if you simply click on the graph, left click I mean, and then you highlight the graph, you can tell with this like border around it. If you go to File and you go to Print, you notice it is now a full page graph. So this should be good to go. You can see it's already set at landscape for you. If you need to change the margins, if you want to try to make this, try to put more room, make it a little bigger, that's fine. But for the most part, this is acceptable pretty much all around for just about everybody. You notice the axes are clearly labeled, the data points are shown with a nice trend line. Again, if that applies to you, because depending upon obviously what analysis you have, you may not have something that just looks linear. And then you got a chart title, everything looks good, so you'd be printing and you'd be good to go. So hopefully, damn it, I keep doing that. So hopefully this was helpful to you somewhat. If you like what you saw, please leave a like just so I know that I'm doing the right thing. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, if I could do something better, if I did something wrong, also please let me know about that. But thank you so much for watching, and I will see you all next time.